name is Rami Abdel Karim. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement.
So there's a rally here today around Mahmoud, around the people that have been rounded up, students and others. And what's behind this roundup? And you think they'll be successful in what they're doing in deporting people?
Them as the United States government. Well, they've already started. They've already started detaining lawful permanent residents on the basis of speaking out for Palestine, so that's fact. The judge, as of a couple days ago, ruled that Mahmoud Khalil's deportation hearing can actually resume, which will be fought out in the federal courts. What the Trump administration is trying to say is that anyone that dares to speak out about Palestine and along much larger, broader issues will be and can be subject to deportation. And he's trying to do that and set a precedent with Mahmoud Khalil with permanent lawful residence, and is actually paving the way for naturalized citizens to do the same. This happened in the UK, actually.
So they're using the same justification in the United Kingdom?
Absolutely, yeah. They did that in the past, and they're using they take from each other in the West. They take these repressive policies and they try to apply them to other places. And what we're also seeing is a mass movement behind Palestine and also against Mahmoud Khalil's deportations. We're seeing, even on college campuses at UC Berkeley, for example, students are coming out in the exact same numbers and sometimes even more for other students who may not have citizenship, who have spoken out against Palestine and are not being protected by their universities. And what we're also seeing behind us today is large swaths of the community, some of which have not been involved in coming out for Palestine before. But what the Trump administration is doing is creating an adverse effect. It's actually showing Americans that this issue that you didn't care about, that you potentially didn't care about very much, is actually setting a precedent for your own speech. President Trump is ripping up the Constitution and whatever rights that Americans had to begin with for a foreign entity for its imperialist interests. And that's actually bringing in more Americans.
And Jewish Americans are saying that this attack on people who are critical of Israel are anti-Semitic, are not buying that. They're saying that's not the truth.
Can you repeat that?
I mean, what's happening is some Jewish Americans, even Scott Wiener, who's a Zionist, are worried that this attack on people because they're critical of Israel could lead to a backlash.
I mean, absolutely, and they also set the foundation for it.
Talk about how they set the foundation for it.
Well, Scott Wiener himself was sitting down with President Isaac Herzog in the midst of this genocide, showing his support for Israel in the midst of this genocide. But the minute that it comes back to Americans at home, they want to act like this wasn't their doing, that this wasn't their point. Scott Wiener has attempted to run bills repressing people in California for speaking out against Palestine. So Zionists like Scott Wiener have set the precedent for this, and they should be put down in history as doing that. And also now liberal Zionists are trying to walk it back, exactly what you're speaking to in this moment. They're saying we wanted to repress the movement, but not this much to the point that it's affecting all of Americans. And this actually brings up the exact point that we are trying to make, that fighting fascism in the United States is actually fighting for Palestine, fighting against imperialism, fighting for our right to organize for freedom of expression, and also to demand that the United States stop funding this genocide is actually integral to fighting fascism here in the United States.
And at the same time, they're attacking healthcare, Medicaid, they're attacking Social Security, veterans, they're closing schools in San Francisco. I mean, there's an attack on workers. They're breaking unions, TSA. It sounds like there's a major union busting attack on the working class as a whole.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing the intersections right before us. We're seeing the intersections of the Palestine movement. Mahmoud Khalil is a UAW worker. We're seeing...
UAW is supporting him.
Yes, absolutely. and also with other Columbia students. The leader of the UAW unit at Columbia was also
Grant Minor.
He was expelled from Columbia University. So, like, we are seeing in front of our eyes the intersections between the Palestine movement, between the labor union movement, between the immigrant and undocumented movement here in the United States, and Trump's repression is actually bringing these movements together.
And we're coming up on May Day, and the Palestinian Federation of Trade Unions in Gaza has called for a general strike to stop the genocide and also to join with U.S. workers. What's your view on that?
I think it's incredible. I think the uniting of the PGFTU and labor unions across the world heeding the call from Palestinian workers in Gaza shows the intersections of our movement, the internationality of our movement, that when one worker is under attack, and workers are under attack across the world, but when workers are under a genocide, we have to rely on other workers to stop that, because we know that the weapons are flowing here from the United States of America over to Israel to commit this genocide, and we rely on the labor movement. And thank God for the ILWU in the United States and in the Bay Area Local 10 for setting a precedent with their resolutions that they will not ship or handle military cargo destined to Israel. We need to see this across the United States and across the world.
Can you talk about why you're here today?
It's the most American thing you can do to stand up for free speech and rights for all, especially people who are here legally in this country. It's the most American thing you can do. Freedom of speech.
Why are they doing this?
Because people who are legally here in the country have been detained without sufficient reason just for speaking out.
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is Elizabeth Farinella.
You're talking about why you're here today.
I find it an abomination that people are being deported over their right to protest the criminal actions of what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank.
What can people do about it?
They can be here, they can let people know. It seems to matter to have more and more and more people protest. It also helps to have ACLU and other attorneys supporting legal action against this, and for people to stand up and support and protect their neighbors.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm an alum and retiree from the University of California, Berkeley. We fight for freedom of speech. That's what we're all about. I'm out on the street because this poor person is being persecuted because he took advantage of the United States given right of freedom of speech. He's a green card holder. He should not be taken. None of the people who are being taken right now should be taken, and we need to be here for our rights, to fight for our rights.
The University of California is expelling students. They're going along with this witch hunt at the University of California. Why do you think the UC is going along with this?
It's unimaginable. I cannot understand why the university is going along with this. I understand that people are worried about their funding, but it's unconscionable. And the future of the university, it's proud alumni, and that is not the way to make the alumni proud.
I'm here today because there are a lot of very disturbing, lawless activities that our federal government is undertaking, cracking down. I mean, Mahmoud Khalil is the focal point of this today, and he was a lawful resident, and as a student he exercised his First Amendment rights, and because of that the federal government has yanked his permission to be in the U.S., and they are trying to deport him. And I believe that non-citizens, which he is, have free speech rights just like citizens do.
I'm here to be a witness to the fact that we're not going to allow our government to do stuff like this.
Yeah, we're here to fight for the freedom of Mahmoud Khalil and all of those who have been detained by ICE and the Department of Homeland Security as a part of the federal government's attack on free speech. We call for workers' action to fight against these deportations, to fight against the revocation of student visas.
What do you think about the role of the AFL-CIO, the national unions,
Well, the union bureaucracy, the leadership of the unions have largely been silent on this question. The labor movement has immense power to fight against these attacks, but they are not, the leadership of the unions are not taking action, the action that needs to be taken, because they're beholden to the capitalist politicians, both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here because I believe in justice, I believe in freedom of speech, and people are being snatched up off the street for their right to protest, for their right to raise their voices.
And what should people do about it?
I'm sorry,
What should people do about it?
people should let the government know how they feel about what's going on, whether it takes going into the streets, whatever it takes.
We're celebrating Passover, which is the holiday of freedom. We're here for liberation, not for deportation. I'm not a hypocrite. I have to live out my Jewish ideals.
And the government says, Trump, that they're fighting anti-Semitism. You don't believe that?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't trust him to be anything but anti-Semitic when it comes right down to goods. He supports neo-Nazi parties. No, that's a ruse. That's a ruse. I'm here for the liberation of Mahmoud Khalil and for anybody who's deported and treated with inhumanity.
Thank you. What's your name?
Robin Marsh.
I'm Judith Murkinson. I'm from the National Lawyers Guild. I'm here to defend Mahmoud Khalil because I think it's completely outrageous that he is facing deportation. And
what do you think of the danger of fascism in this country? Do you think we have a fascist government?
I do. I mean, I think we've had a form, sort of, I call it democratic fascism for many years. And we're just
here today because I think it's outrageous that this young man was taken from Columbia. I belong to a liberal Protestant church and we believe in BDS, and my husband and I have said nothing other than what Mahmoud Khalil has said, that to protest the genocide in Gaza is not anti-Semitic. All my Jewish friends agree with that. And to criminalize free speech in this country is terrifying to me, because at this point, if I express an opinion that I think that there should be a peaceful way for Palestinians to resist, called boycott, divestment, and sanctions, to think that that could be criminalized and I could be told by my Secretary of State that that is going against U.S. policy really disturbs me. So I'm here. I wish there were more people here because I think what's going on is so anti-American. It's so anti-American. I believe in free speech, and I wish I could do something to help all the deportations. I'm worried about the young Russian woman that may be killed by Putin if they send her back. I'm worried about the young father that was sent to a horrible torture chamber prison in El Salvador who shouldn't have been deported, and I don't know what to do about that. I'm feeling helpless, so that's why I'm here today. Marita Mayer.
I'm here because Mahmoud Khalil needs to come home.
What do you think could stop the arrests?
People standing up to the crap that's going on.
We will not rest. Slow, diverse. We will not stop. We will not rest.
Give it up for Lena, everybody. We're standing here in front of this office, SF's very own U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement building, as the true faces of our university administration and of this country have been exposed and laid bare for all of us to see. The intersection between the different ongoing and continuous struggles, the Palestinian struggle, the immigrant struggle, the struggle for free speech, and more has become increasingly apparent. The necessity for shared struggle has become impossible to ignore, in spite of and even because of this escalating repression we are seeing. Honestly, I'm not here because I'm not afraid. I am. But the violence and suffering that we are seeing both in Palestine as the bombs escalate and here in the Imperial Core compels me to be here. It compels my fellow student organizers to be here. To remain in the struggle here on the streets and on our campuses. So much. We know that neither the state nor campus administrations that have only capitulated to Trump thus far will keep us safe. We will. How can we possibly sit still and continue life as if nothing is happening when the universities in Gaza have been completely annihilated, knowing that our universities played a role? How can we solely focus on our individualistic goals, our careers, when our peers such as Hassan Shabbat have been martyred while trying to reveal the truth behind the US and Israeli regime? How can we just blatantly accept the verdict that Mahmoud Khalil is deportable for the sole reason of speaking up against the deplorable Zionist regime and the genocide it has been carrying out for the past 18 months? We can't, and we won't. This isn't normal, and we'll refuse to make it normal. The moment we are in currently feels unprecedented, but as a harsh reminder of the priorities that this country holds. As we are standing here, nearly 600 student visas have been revoked. Some due to solidarity with Palestinians, others due to xenophobia. The university continues functioning as a military arm of the state, choosing to fund the surveillance of its students who stand up against the genocide. We have watched as different university administrations, oh my God, revoke degrees, give out students' immigration statuses to federal law enforcement. They ignore our pleas for divestment, and they file charges for fake blood as the blood of martyrs continues pouring out in Gaza. They demand restitution and try to make an example of our classmates as if they're not profiting from a genocide that is happening across the ocean, from the displacement of its neighboring communities. Our university helps produce the weaponry, the knowledge, the policies needed to enable this violence. It is obvious now that the country and its institutions have prioritized profit over human life and will continue threatening the rights of its people, of its youth, just to continue this genocide. To continue violently pillaging people's homelands for profit, for land. All while treating the people who seek refuge here as deportable, as expendable, as exploitable labor that they are ready to send out as soon as they stand up against what is wrong. It is imperative, however, that we remember that every successful movement has faced repression. The actions of this country and its university aren't a sign of strength, but rather of weakness, of fear. They are scrambling to regain the narrative that they have been using to make Israel legitimate. The righteousness of the Palestinian struggle has become clear before our very eyes. Even in this difficult moment, it is clear that Palestine has been liberating us and not waking us up to the injustice that the United States and Israel caused. There is no going back, and it is now more important than ever that we remember why Mahmoud Khalil was engaged in struggle in the first place. We must remember that he was fighting for a free Palestine that his grandparents were displaced from, that his family can't go back to. Even as repression escalates, we must fight harder than ever until liberation, until Palestine is free, until Turtle Island is free.
Assalamu alaikum. We have reached a moment of clarity. It has become clear to us that power is so corrupt, that power is so intaken by itself, that it cannot even have a word of a person, a student, a book to read, an idea to contemplate. And that's why they think by taking Mahmoud Khalil, by taking Mohsen Mahdawi, by taking students, faculty, staff, and by surveilling all of us, they could turn the clock back. But we'll tell them the following. Leonard Peltier is out of jail. Leonard Peltier is out of jail. Leonard Peltier is out of jail. That should tell us something about history. Now, if you read the COINTELPRO documents, J. Edgar Hoover sent his goons out to enhance paranoia, to make people fear their shadow, to think that there is somebody watching them, and if people think and fear, then they no longer be able to contemplate a future horizon of freedom. That failed. What we need to tell Trump and all those who are serving him, that fear is real, but courage, let's stare the fear in the eye and say, we will overcome fear to take over and change history as we have done in the past. Now, our struggle have made it clear on the following. The social media, the military-industrial complex, the billionaires and those on power are all playing on the same team. Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, and all of the Silicon Valley that told us to be hip, wearing short and flip-flop does not mean that you are the right side of history. You could have a flip-flop on your shoes, but have a flip-flop in your mind, and that's what we need to tell them. Their motto was, do no evil, but they have transformed themselves to the essence and the servitude and the handmaiden of evil itself. Microsoft have provided the algorithm for targeting Palestinians in Gaza. Facebook has hired over 110 Israeli Defense Force, 8200 division of the Israeli army, to remove 90,000 posts from Facebook. We have understood from day one that the Palestinians are not struggling only for themselves, but struggling to free the world. What we came to be clear, that Palestinians are the free one, and we are the hostages of our own delusional worldview and our daily life. The bombs that are being dropped on Gaza are made in our own country. The bombs that are thrown on the Gaza are being funded by us. So you might be sophisticated and tag your algorithm on the computer, or you might be a person that moves up, but you're moving up on the skeletons of people in Palestine, but before that in El Salvador, before that in Nicaragua, today in the Congo, in Sudan, and everywhere in the world. So the Palestinians are telling us that we need to be free. Now I need to tell you, we have a very important struggle ahead of us. A very serious struggle for us. They're trying to lock up the universities. And let's not be delusional. The university have always been part of the reproduction of the system. They want us to aspire for a cubicle in some company. And you know you aspire for a cubicle, then you want to move to a cubicle with a window, then you want to move to a cubicle and possibly with a larger window, then you want to aspire to an office with a bathroom, to actually have to go to the bathroom by your own. So they're selling us a dream just to move up so we could actually have our own bathroom to smell our own reality. We tell them we need to transform our history and our universities. Now we know that the university administration at Columbia University is the one that informed on Mahmoud Khalil. We know that the university administration was always coordinating with oppression. We know this all the way back from the 60s. We know that during the environmental movement. We know that during the apartheid movement. So we have no delusion. Berkeley and the UC, we are number one in the production, research of military-industrial complex. We make the best death machines in the world, and we need to take them to challenge to this. They're worried about their research, but we need to understand the research they're worried about is the one that actually creates death economy. It is not the one that thinks about the finer points. It's not the one that thinks about the classic literature of Shakespeare, or think of Al-Ghazali, or Sun Tzu, or any of the great minds of the past. They're worried about the bombs that they need to produce. They're worried about Los Alamos military lab, the Livermore lab. That's what their research they're worried about, and that's where the money is. $9 billion for Harvard, almost $1 billion in UC. So we need to take and make change in our education system, and that's what is at crux. Now I know we are in the town that Newsom was a mayor on, right? Now Newsom, like Clinton before, the one with the Monica Lewinsky, right? Newsom thinks that he's going to run for the presidency by moving to the right. We say, MashaAllah, he figured it out. We'll tell him the following. California is the fifth largest economy in the world. Fifth largest economy in the world. You're telling me that Uncle Trump in the White House is telling you in California that he's going to cut your money while you don't have a control over your taxes? If Trump is going to cut the funding for California, we tell Newsom, you need to tell them you're not going to send our taxes to you. That's what it is. We are not begging for our own money. This is our money. We pay taxes for it. We are not there to fund Israel. We're here to fund education, healthcare, well-being to our people. So the fight that we are fighting is a fight for our own society. And what does it mean for us to be in the current day, in the current moment, for us to aspire for a better future? The future that spent $12 trillion on foreign wars while we have homelessness all our streets. They tell us that El Salvadorians or Mexicans or the immigrants are the cause of the drugs in the street. I say no. If you want to know what the drug problem is, go to Walmart, go to CVC, go to all of these corporate heads, go to the Sackler, go to all these pharmaceuticals that pushed almost for 20 years drugs in the streets, drugs in our community, and then when it came out that people are in the streets having to overdose, they blame the little immigrant, the person who's actually working in the farm, the person who's working in the kitchen, and then they send them abroad. While those elites, those on the board of directors, those who caused the problem to begin with, are still sipping cocktails and dressed in suits and ties and thinking and telling us that they represent civilization. If you want to end the drug problem, any corporation that pushes drugs on the streets to people, they should be arrested. They should not have immunity. That's how you end the drug problem. So, we have a massive protest coming up in the colleges on the 17th. make sure to show up. If they're taking those who are undocumented, or taking those who have green cards, or those who are aliens, you go to get your cousin who's a citizen. Go get your relative who is a citizen. Go get your uncle who's a citizen. Go get the homeless who are a citizen, and let's all stand to build a wall against oppression. It takes all of us to save all of us at the same time. Thank you.
Hello, Bay Area! For the past 17 months, Israel and the United States have waged a horrific genocide on the Palestinian people of Gaza that has left over 100,000 martyred and countless more maimed. Shame! Gaza's 2 million residents have been starved and displaced several times over. Shame! Children have been left without parents. Parents have been left without children. And entire bloodlines have been erased. Shame! Even after a ceasefire has been reached, Israel continues its genocide on the Palestinian people of Gaza. Shame! It is not a coincidence that this renewed attack on our people in Gaza coincides with repression in the United States. It is the Trump administration's attempt at quelling the Palestinian movement with escalating tactics of repression and intimidation. Shame! Students have been viciously and illegally kidnapped and detained. Shame! Students have been deliberately cut off from their lawyers, families, and communities. Shame! We have seen hundreds of students face probation, suspension, or being doxxed simply because they chose to stand on the right side of history against the government's role in facilitating the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Shame! The Trump administration is trying to achieve one thing: to silence and isolate the student movement and the movement for Palestine. They want us to fall into paranoia and fear so that our movement freezes. But will we stop? No! Their cowardly actions raises the question, why are they so scared? It is because the students have successfully created a powerful and unstoppable mass movement dedicated to a just cause. To stop the genocide and to divest from systems of death and mass destruction. This is what the students were standing up for. In the past year, you all have shown that the student movement for Palestine is not just an isolated struggle on campuses. Rather, the students are actually leading our movement here in the diaspora. The strength of the student movement has always struck fear into the hearts of our oppressors because it's a measure of the future of our struggle. It shows how strong our movement will be for decades to come. That's why we are facing so much repression right now. Because the movement for the liberation of Palestine and the continuous growth of solidarity across all sectors of society terrifies the Trump administration just as it terrified the Biden administration before it. By unleashing ICE and the DHS on Mahmoud Khalil, Liqa Kurdiya, Mohsen Madawi, who was kidnapped today, and so many others, Trump thinks that he can strip us of our rights, attack our movement, and weaken our commitment to fight for our people. To that we say, we will not be silenced. Far from being crushed, our movement continues to grow. democracy, end quote. Shame. Make no mistake, this attack on Mahmoud is political. It is a rubber stamp for repression. But the legal fight is not over, and our political fight is not over either. They are targeting Mahmoud because they're terrified not of him as a person, but what he represents. A fearless, growing movement that is shifting public opinion and shaking the foundations of U.S. empire and complicity. And we stand here together today to say that we will never back down. In Mahmoud's letter from prison, he tells us just this. He says, if anything, my detention is a testament to the strength of a student movement in shifting public opinion toward Palestinian liberation. Students have long been at the forefront of change, leading the charge against the Vietnam War, standing on the front lines of the civil rights movement, and driving the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. Today, too, even if the public has yet to fully grasp it, it is the students who steer us towards truth and justice. The Trump administration is targeting me as part of a broader strategy to suppress dissent. Visa holders, green card carriers, and citizens alike will all be targeted for their political beliefs. In the weeks ahead, students, advocates, and elected officials must unite to defend the right to protest for Palestine. At stake are not just our voices, but all of our fundamental civil liberties. And we respond to Mahmoud Khalil by showing up today and showing that we stand strong in unison for our fight for liberation. Today, the Palestinian movement joins our brothers and sisters in the immigrants' rights movement and all progressive forces to demand the release of Mahmoud Khalil and all who are being unjustly held. We demand an end to the targeting and harassment of all students and organizers and the complete removal of ICE from our campuses and communities. Today, we will hear from student organizers across campuses in the Bay Area who will share what they are facing on their campuses and how the community can support them. And we say to them, will the Bay show up for our students when they need us? Will we show up for our immigrant and undocumented community? Will we stop ICE facility from being built in Dublin? Will we continue to fight back? So I want to hear you all responding loud and clear. When our students are under attack, what do we do? When students are under attack, what do we do?
Hi, I'm Lydia Rock. I teach at Skyline High School in Oakland. I'm here today in part because this relates to exactly what I teach in school. Our unit that we're in right now, which I do every year, is on how to recognize authoritarian maneuvers and how to notice those behaviors in your government. And these overreaches, bypassing the constitutional right to a due process, fair representation under the law, and freedom of speech are fundamental rights. And citizen isn't mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. It says we the people, not citizens. So we give away the Constitution thinking it's going to help us as citizens. We've just given away everything. Economic welfare in a more broad sense, because of the integrated way of globalization, We need to assist and improve how every country has an ability to be a player in that system rather than trying to gut it when we've already invested decades and decades into creating it. But we need to have unions make labor more of a seat at the table. We need to change the definition of corporation, which we as a country control. It's our laws that tell them the rules. And right now, we tell corporations they have to prioritize profits for their shareholders, and they don't even mention labor in the definition of a corporation. We need to make this an equal playership. Even if you're a capitalist, you got to understand that people need a right to refuse an actual choice. Corporations have become bloated. We are no longer true capitalism.